Good morning, everybody. It's Jeff Goldberg for the Sales Pro Network. It is Friday, June 17th. I am a sales trainer and coach. I work with both individuals and organizations to help them get measurable and sustainable sales increases. And I founded the Sales Pro Network to elevate the profession of sales and help you make more money. It's a place where salespeople can come and hang out, network, learn, ask questions, get coaching from great experts from all over the world. And as you probably know, every Friday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, I bring you either a live training that I do or a wonderful guest who can add value to the profession of sales. And once again, my friends, today is no exception. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Bill Sciacca. Good morning, Bill.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. How are you?
I'm absolutely outstanding. And you're not local right now, are you?
No, I'm talking to you right now from Tamarindo, Costa Rica.
Wow. Well, I'm hoping that we become friends so I get an invite to come out down there because it sounds like a fantastic place.
You already have an invite. You just come on down.
Life is good, my friend. Life is good.
Yeah.
So, Bill, you seem to be very focused on goal setting. I actually co-authored a book on how to set and achieve goals, so I am too. But why is that such an important topic to you?
It happened when I was a senior in college. Jeff, I was a philosophy and sociology major in college. I mean, that was okay back in the 70s. We were all hippies. So the end result was I was taking courses in metaphysics and existentialism, and I was very happy until I realized what the job prospect was like. And this is the 1979, last year of the Carter administration, double-digit unemployment, double-digit inflation. Things did not look good. So in my senior year, I decided to somehow do something with business. Now, I couldn't do that in my senior year because it was too late. But I stumbled across this program on goal setting. It was a free cassette tape. It came from Texas, so I should say it was a cassette. The end result was that it was The Power of Personal Goal Setting by Paul J. Myers. He owned a company called Leadership Management Incorporated, which I bought a franchise with about 15 years later. And it changed the way I viewed the world. I went back, I took a job as a juvenile probation officer directly out of college. Very, very interesting job. Within 3 months, I had a knife pulled on me. I had a carpet cutter pulled on me, and I had a penis pulled on me. That story is going to require a couple Jack Daniels for you. But anyway, the end result was that I wanted to go back for an MBA. Now here I am sitting in a 500 level graduate business class called Management Science, the Mathematical Manipulation of Business Problems. The only math I ever had in undergraduate was a class called Math 5, also called Dummy Math, and the page numbers at the bottom of my philosophy book. That was it. So I came across goal setting. I said, I'm going to set a goal to get a C in this course. Hey, that's all I wanted was a C. I didn't have high expectations back then. So I wanted to get a C in this 500 level course. So I got the book and I realized this book requires calculus. So I went out to a used bookstore and I bought a 50-cent used calculus book. And then I realized calculus requires algebra. So I went back to the store and I bought a 50-cent algebra book. And I realized this requires me to understand arithmetic, which I haven't had since 5th grade. So I need to go back and buy a 4th grade arithmetic book. And here's my 4 books lined up: Management Science, Calculus, Algebra, and Arithmetic. And when I ran into a problem in the Management Science book, I went to Calculus. When I realized I couldn't figure out the equation, I went to algebra. And when I realized I didn't know what a least common denominator was, I went back to the 4th grade arithmetic book. This was the goal setting process at play. This was it. This was my first exposure to it. And at the end of that 14-week class, Jeff, I did not get a C in that class. I got a B. That's when the goal setting process bit me. And I spent about 10 years teaching college at that point. It was always adjunct. I don't know if you're familiar with that term, adjunct. Adjunct is an academic term, meaning you're not going to get paid a lot and there's no benefits. So I spent about 10 years doing that, and I used goal setting within the context of my college classes. And then I took I left the corporate world and started what eventually became Intelligent Motivation Incorporated. It had different names at the time, but that was it. And over the past 30 years, I have taught goal setting literally around the world to salespeople, sales managers, executives, and have just been having a blast doing that. Well, except for that time in England when I got the diarrhea from, anyway, all in all, it was a great time.
We can save the diarrhea story as well as the having a penis pulled on you story for when we get together and drink some rum. By the way, if you're watching us live, please say hello. If you're on Facebook and watching us live and you have not connected your Facebook account to StreamYard, we're not going to know who you are unless you say your name. So please say hello. And if you're watching us on the replay, please put replay in the comments. Good morning, Robin Long, one of our favorite real estate magnates from Long Island. Bill, you suggest that success has more to do with goal achievement than goal setting. What do you mean by that?
Jeff, good question. Here's the problem that I have found over the 30 years that I've been teaching this and in the 40 years that I've actually been setting goals. The problem isn't that people do not set goals. We all set goals, but we don't know the process. And the end result is we make mistakes and thus we don't achieve goals. The problem isn't in setting the goals. The problem is in achieving the goals. Now, you know, that notion of SMART goals, SMART being an acronym for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time specific, and so forth. And I added another T called tangible. The problem isn't that, well, I mean, if I had 100 people in front of me right now, and I said, we're going to talk about SMART goals, 50 people would say, oh, God, no, SMART goals again. And the other 50 people would say, what's a SMART goal? But it's been around for 80 years because the technology is so solid. It is so solid. The problem is that if you don't check the box after the S, after the M, after the A, after the R, after the T, after the second T, you don't have a goal. You have a wish, you have a dream, you have a desire. And the end result is that people start to lose, they start to lose momentum. They start to lose motivation. What I've done over the past 30 years is develop this method where individuals can create a climate of self-motivation so they can motivate themselves once they set the goal to be able to sustain the motivational process. That's the key, especially in sales. In sales. Too many salespeople, from what I see, they set goals based on their quota. You know, Jeff, the fact of the matter is that you don't have any control over who says yes or who says no at the end of the sales process. I mean, you may be in front of what you consider to be the best prospect in the world, but they're doing business with their brother-in-law, and there's no way they're coming to you. But you know what you do have control over? You have control over the prospects. You have control over your sales training and ability. You have control over how many dials you make. You have control over how many interviews you set. That's what you need to set goals on. If you set goals on those fundamental aspects of sales, the sales come. We don't know who in the pipeline is going to pop out as a sale, but we know that if we have enough in the pipeline, we're going to get those sales. The issue is setting the goals to sustain self-motivation to do it.
So you've said two things near and dear to my heart. First of all, self-motivation. I'm hired sometimes as a motivational speaker, and I have a 1-hour talk on it, and it's called Motivate Yourself, because I don't believe that somebody else can motivate you unless you're a mafia hitman. If you've killed people and people know that, you can get them to do stuff, but other than that, it's pretty damn hard. True motivation comes from within.
Was that a slur on my last name? No, just kidding. Go ahead.
But the other thing you said is just as important to me. You know, as a sales coach, the first thing I work on with new clients is what is their goal, and I always tell them the same thing. And I'd like your opinion on this. I don't care what your hopes are. I don't care what your dreams are. I don't care about your wishes. I don't care about your wants, your desire. I don't care about any of that. As a human, I do. But as your coach, I only care about one thing. What are you committed to? Because commitment drives everything. If you're committed, then you can achieve almost any goal. I mean, I can't fly without wings or an airplane or something like that, but just about anything else. How do you feel about the importance of commitment?
Well, I'll give you a synonym that I use for commitment. It's called passion. If you don't wake up every morning without a passion, you're in trouble. And this has nothing to do with making money. This has to do with your making a ding in the universe. This has to do with how you're going to change the world. And Jeff, the end result is that if you don't have passion, you're not going to accomplish anything. Look at the great successes that we've had in history. Anytime things were built, inventions were discovered, it was done with great passion. Look at Nikola Tesla. Look at Albert Einstein. Look at Thomas Edison. Look at even the great Roman emperors that built these roads and colosseums and so forth. Everything was done with passion. With passion. Passion drives commitment. If you have passion, man, the commitment comes.
You keep saying stuff that's perfect. I'm passionate about the ancient Romans, and I've never visited Rome. I'm going in August with my daughter to visit ancient Rome and see it, because I love the ancient Roman culture, and I can't wait to see the ruins. Good morning to Mitch Tobel, our marketing guy. Good morning to Rich Atkins from Improving Communications, and Ray Aurora says, great show, Jeff. Thanks, Bill. Watching you from Reagan National in DC. All right. So we're talking about goal setting. So how does that fit into sales? How do you see that fitting in for salespeople?
What I like to do in my sales training, Jeff, is I like individuals to draw out their sales cycle. Now, I like to call this the sales hallway. As a matter of fact, I'm writing a book on the sales hallway right now, where every component of your sales cycle is a room in this hallway with doors on both sides. And the first door opens up. Let's say it's called pre-prospecting. And in that room, you have LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you have your chamber mixers, you have whatever else you do. When you do everything right, the door in pre-prospecting closes and the next door opens up, which allows you to go into the next room, which is prospecting. Now we're going to sort the prospects out. We're going to give them A, B, C. Once you do all that, that door closes and the next door opens up, which is approach. Again, I don't know everybody has different sales cycles. But here's the point. Every room in that sales hallway should have goals. Now, for pre-prospecting, you don't know what the universe is going to bring to you, but I know this, it's going to bring nothing to you unless you actually set up time blocks to commit to doing some type of pre-prospecting work. I was a full-time professor at Penn State University for a number of years. I taught believe it or not, I taught economics. That's my actual love is economics. Somewhere underneath here is a zipper head. But I loved economics and leadership. And one of the professors came up to me after I had written my second book, and he said, Bill, where do you find time to write books? And I said, I don't find time to write books. I schedule time to write books. That's the same thing with the goal. That's a goal. You set the time. You have to set a goal to do these things. And if you do, the end result is you start achieving those goals way at the front end of the sales process. And then at the back end of the sales process, when the sales come in, you say, where did that come from? Well, it came from all the work that you did earlier. That's where that came from.
Got it. You keep saying just great things. I'm so in tune with you when you say scheduling. One of the things I also work on with my clients is, time management, which almost everybody stinks at. I teach something that I call calendarization, which I know is not a real word because every time I type it into a document, the paperclip shows up and says that's not a real word, but it's simply everything goes on your calendar. You want to get stuff done, it goes on your calendar. Schedule the time for it. That's great. So should salespeople be setting personal goals, and should those be different from the company goals, or should they be? How does that work?
Excellent question. Obviously, your company, if you're a salesperson, your company probably has one gigantic goal for you, and that's to hit your goal, your number, your plan, the quota. And of course, they have parameters based on that, such as you have to do it professionally and so forth, etc. But that's their main goal. That's fine. That's fine. That's not necessarily going to motivate you. See, there's three types of motivation. There's incentive motivation, there's fear motivation, there's attitude motivation. When the company sets a goal for you that you have to sell this much stuff in a year, if you don't do it, that's fear motivation because you're getting fired. If you do it, that's incentive motivation because you've made all that money. But both of those, fear and incentive motivation, are short-term motivators. Attitude motivation, that's the motivation that sticks. That's the one that lasts. And attitude motivation comes from setting goals that you are going to accomplish, for example, with the commission that you earn. All right, so I earned this commission. Here it is. I've got $10,000 here. All right, wonderful. What am I going to do? Put that in the bank like King Midas? And maybe every Friday I'll go and count it? No, what I'm going to do with that money is say to my family, where's the next vacation of this 10,000? We're going to take 5,000. We're going to go on vacation. Here's the first step of the goal setting process. Let's figure out where we want to go. Do we want to go to the Rockies? Do we want to go to an island? Do we want to go on a cruise? Let's figure out where we want to go. Second is let's start planning for it. Here's the 5,000. And the other 5,000 you put away because you're a frugal person. You're a good business person.
Right in line with my thinking again, because I always say nobody goes to work to earn more green pieces of paper with pictures of dead presidents on them. They go to work for what those pictures are going to do for them, what those pieces of paper are going to do for them. And somebody says, Bill, I love your passion. We don't know who you are. Please let us know who you are. If you're on Facebook and you haven't connected your account to StreamYard, all we hear is Facebook user. Good morning, Keith Ginsburg. Good morning, Larry Weiss, our phone guy. What's the biggest reason, in your opinion, why don't people achieve their goals, especially salespeople?
Well, again, it goes back to the degradation of self-motivation. After a while, at the very beginning, we're filled with this piss and vinegar. We want to accomplish this goal. And if we don't have a model of self-motivation set up, well, after a week or two, that goal might start to become more of an ephemeral whisper, a dream, a wish. And then after that, it starts to go away. By knowing how to set goals and tracking goals, we have to track them. Remember this is what I tell all of my management students in the first day of management class. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. Once we set up that level of self-motivation and we're tracking things, that's where we start to keep self-motivation alive. Jeff, I'll give you a perfect example. 2020 was a gigantically abysmal year for me. I lost 85% of my revenue. Oh, it was terrible. It was terrible. I mean, and 2021 wasn't that much better. So what I had to start doing was setting goals to putting my classes online. And right now I have about 20 of my courses and 11 of my books that are starting to roll out. This is part of the goal setting process. Let me give you a peek behind the curtain. I don't know if you could see the whiteboard.
We see just a teeny little bit of it. There you go. Now we see it.
I'm measuring how I'm tracking my progress in terms of recording my lessons. That's the goal setting process in action. That's the way goals work. Dennis Waitley said it best in his 1986 work, The Psychology of Winning. He said, all motivation is self-motivation. Even a decision to do nothing is a decision based on self-motivation.
That's a brilliant program, by the way. I listened to it also on cassette tape, probably way back then. Waitley was brilliant. What about this? You set a goal, you're all gung-ho, it's realistic, it's reasonable, it's a stretch, but you can achieve it. But inevitably, we all want our goal to go like this, no problem, except it's usually there's 8 million things that get in the way. Any advice on how do you stay motivated when the going gets tough on your way to achieving a goal?
Excellent question. Before I answer that, just so you know, The Psychology of Winning is now available free on YouTube, the entire thing.
No kidding.
I just listened to it again. And I spent the money with Nightingale Cohn 30 years ago also. It's funny that you asked that question. I just yesterday recorded 5 sessions for my YouTube channel called the 5-Minute Motivator. And the 5 sessions, it's a 5-part series on what every successful person experiences. Now, you can put this in there and say what every successful salesperson experiences. Number 1, fear. Number 2, disappointment. Number 3, frustration. Number 4, setbacks. Excuse me. Number 5, elation. Elation. Fact of the matter is that if you do not want to experience fear, disappointment, frustration, and setbacks in your sales career, I've got a perfect solution for you. Get the hell in the basement, hide under the old kitchen table, and don't leave. That's the way to do it. Successful people understand failure is going to occur. Setbacks are going to occur. All those things are going to occur. And at the end of it, you might only achieve a fraction of the things that you set out, but those fractional items that you've become successful on are enough to propel you in your career and your trajectory very far forward.
It's great. Yeah. And I'd urge everyone to take a look at YouTube. When I do research before I bring on guests like Bill, I always learn about them. I go on their LinkedIn profile, and those 5-minute motivator videos are excellent, really great stuff. And I love that they're 5 minutes. Whenever somebody sends me a video to watch, and I get them all the time, if it's more than 5 minutes, I'm probably not going to do it. I have a dear friend who I adore is constantly sending me, watch this for an hour, watch this for 2 hours. I don't have that much time, but 5 minutes, that's a really useful bite. And good morning to Lisa Leviton. Good to see you here. Happy Friday.
Jeff, I appreciate that. And I'll give you guys a link at the end of it in terms of what to do. But just so you know, yesterday I recorded the 485th episode of the 5-Minute Motivator.
Wow, that's great.
And that's in about a year and a half. Yeah. You know what? As long as the voices keep talking in my head, I'm going to keep talking to you. So,
okay, well, Edward Henry says, great session. So he hopes that the voices keep talking. So what do you equate success in sales to? How do you equate success in sales?
Well, there's a psychological concept that we call motivational energy, ME. It does exist. It's that level of the internal idol that we have within us. Successful salespeople normally have a very high ME. I know the last time I gauged mine through a psychometric evaluation, I was at 93, and the scale goes up to 100. I'm sure you're right around there too. That's a good indicator of how people are successful. Now, you don't have to necessarily gauge your motivational energy specifically, but the point is, are you always rocking and rolling? Are you always looking for things to do? For example, you have a sales call. You go to the office building where the sales call is, and the call was canceled for some reason. You reschedule it for next week, but now you have an hour and a half left. What do you do with that time? I know what I would do with that time, but I also know a lot of salespeople that'll say, well, I have an hour and a half. I guess I'll go to the donut shop and do some high hurdles at the honey dipsticks and spend some time there and wait for the next call. Get the hell in here. No way. You're in an office building. You're in an industrial park. You got your phone. You got an hour and a half. This is an opportunity. You start making phone calls. You start knocking on doors. Let me give you an example. I had an appointment canceled on me. This is back years ago. I was in Hazleton, Pennsylvania. Hazleton, Pennsylvania has 3 industrial parks in it that are gigantic. As a matter of fact, they should change the name from Hazleton to Industrial Park. But I had an appointment canceled on me. I was in the industrial park all day, but I had an appointment canceled on me. I had about an hour and a half. So all these businesses I'm not doing business with, I decided to start knocking on doors. Well, lo and behold, I pull into this one parking lot. On the side is the office door, manufacturing facility. And there's a sign that says right on the door, no solicitation without an appointment. So I thought, this is perfect for me because that's what I want to do is set up an appointment. So I walk in. I go down the hallway. There's another door. And on this door, there's a sign. And this sign says, every third salesperson is shot. And in parentheses, it says, and the second one just left. I thought that was so amusing. So I walk in. And there behind the reception desk is a woman who vaguely resembled Jabba the Hutt. And this is exactly the way she approached me. What? So I gave her my business card. And I said, I'm not looking to see anybody. But what I am looking to do is set up an appointment. Can you give me the card for the plant manager or the human resource person? Normally they have cards right at their desk, the reception people, so they can give you a card and get you out of there. She says, I don't have the plant manager's card and we don't have a human resource person on site. I said, ma'am, that's not a problem. Would you mind getting me one? Well, you would think I destroyed her world. She banged on the head and she got up with this gigantic harumph and she walked down the hall to the plant manager with my business card in her hand. Walking back with my business card in one hand and the plant manager's card in the other hand was not her. It was the plant manager. And the plant manager looked at my card and said, how do you say your name? I said, listen, you're not pronouncing an appetizer on an Italian menu. Call me Bill. So he said, here's my card. He said, I just got an email from Human Resources yesterday. They are not doing any more supervisory training. Do you do that? Well, that was the exact class I was trying to fill in the Hazleton area. I said, I've been known to do some supervisory training. Yeah, I already had 150 graduates in the Hazleton area. He said, do you have some time now or should we set up an appointment? I said, I think I can squeeze out a little time for you now. So we went back into his office. We talked. We set it up. I left with a $15,000 purchase order. That's the beauty of how to rock and roll. You just don't stop. And you know what motivated me into that? You know what motivated me? At the time, I had two young kids, the wife that was starting a business. They were both in private school. I had so many other things going on. My business goals motivated me so that I can fund my family goals.
That's me too, Bill. I've got 3 kids all in college right now. I am highly motivated to continue work. And I want to share something with you similar to what you just said, because I love that you took advantage of the time, even though there was a cancellation. And look, in many industries, knocking on a door doesn't work at all, but in many it does. And sometimes you got to pick up the phone and people tend to resist. So there's a technique that I teach salespeople where if you're trying to get in touch with somebody, you want to get an appointment, but you can't, call up and leave them a message and say, hey, I'm going to be in your area next Wednesday at 10 a.m. or whatever the time is. And unless I hear back from you, I'm going to stop in. Okay. So I was working with a company called Boston Mutual, a large insurance company. I trained like 42 of their salespeople, and I flew around the country and spent a day and a half with each of them in the field, just watching what they were doing, giving them coaching. So I'm down in Florida, and we're on the way to a sales call with a guy in the car. And I said, tell me about this next one. He goes, oh, this is great. I use that technique that you taught me about. I'm going to be in your area, because she wasn't returning my calls or my emails. I said, I'm going to stop by unless I hear from you. So we haven't heard from her. So in my head, I'm going, oh, please, God, don't let this be a disaster, because I trained this guy how to do this. So we walk in. He speaks to the receptionist. Here's who I am. Here's where I'm from. I'm from Boston Mutual. Could you please let so-and-so know I'm here? And the receptionist picks up the phone and says, there's 2 guys here from Boston Mutual. And we can hear somebody pounding down you can hear the footsteps, and you can hear the anger in the woman's footsteps pounding down the hall to come see us, because she's pissed off that we just dropped in. She comes out, what can I do for you? And the guy says, yeah, I forgot his name. I'm Bill Jones. And I left you a message the other day saying I was going to be in the area and that I was going to stop by if you didn't return my call. So here I am. She goes, oh, you're absolutely right. You did leave me that message. Come on in. Just because you just got to take the shot. Sometimes look, does it always work out? Of course not. But sometimes it does. And you've got to be consistently prospecting. That is a game of cojones. Unless you're consistently prospecting, you're never going to make enough money.
Jeff, absolutely. There's some research out there on why new salespeople fail. And funny thing is that new salespeople fail in the professional sales for one of 2 reasons, sometimes both. Prospecting and closing. They either don't see enough people to tell their story to, or they tell their story and they forget to ask for the business. And, I think both of those revolve around this issue of self-confidence. And self-confidence is driven by self-esteem. What you did with this individual, they could have shrunk back at this person and said, oh my God, look how mean they're being to me. The exact same thing happened to me. I was coaching a salesperson. I said, what's over there? They said, oh, that's a big boiler manufacturer. I said, let's go in. I turned the car and they're looking at me like, but we don't have an appointment. Let's go in. Let's see what happens. And, the end result is, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? They're not going to shoot you. They're not going to come after your family. All right. They're not going to tar and feather you. They're going to say, no, I don't want what you have. All right. They might even say, don't ever come back here again. Okay. Guess what? Next.
Exactly right. I can't tell you how many times I've walked in on my own. Not in this. I don't knock on doors anymore for what I do now. But knocked on a door or with somebody where it said exactly what you did. No soliciting. What's the worst that happens? They say, did you not see the sign? I did, but I still wanted to talk to you. And sometimes that works, and sometimes they do kick you out. But I love what you just said. So what? In fact, I was doing a training in North Carolina once, and the vice president of sales came up right in the middle of it, and he drew on the whiteboard, SW, SW, SWN. SW, SW, SWN. He goes, do you know what that means, Jeff? And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I don't. And he goes, some will, some won't. So what? Next. Exactly the deal. Good morning from Texas. I'm assuming that's our friend Fran. And Lisa Leviton says, great story. By the way, if you guys have any questions for Bill, we're about halfway through. We're speaking to Bill Sciacca, the owner of Intelligent Motivation Incorporated. He's a motivational speaker, a motivational expert, and a sales trainer. And if you have any questions for him, put them in the comments and I'll ask Bill. Bill, I do have a question, though, in case nobody else does. What is needs awareness?
Insight precedes change. A person cannot change any of their behavioral attributes until they become aware of them. What we need to understand is we as salespeople, we have to develop a greater level of awareness in terms of what our needs are. At the end of a sales call that you didn't make, you need to sit down and ask yourself, why did this sale not occur? And you have to look into your psychological mirror. Why not? What could I do next time better? Maybe I sucked at question asking. Maybe I didn't peel the onion enough. Maybe I didn't ask the right closing question. Maybe I spent too much time at the beginning of the process BSing with whatever. All right, but you've got to ask that. You've got to be aware of what your needs are. Managers have to be aware also, but it's a slower process with management. You can evolve in management over a year or over 2 years and slowly change those behavioral attributes that are driven by your personality. In sales, you got a number you have to hit at the end of the month. So you have to drive needs awareness, and you have to drive it quickly. You may find this hard to believe because now we've been talking about a half an hour, and I think you could see I'm pretty tightly wound.
Just a bit.
But I spend 40 minutes in meditation every day. And when I say meditation, I'm talking about guided meditations. I mean, I'm actually sit down and I close my eyes and I deep breathe, and I have various computer programs that I use for it. But what comes out of those meditation sessions is what I need to do different and what I need to do better, how I can communicate better, etc. I don't want to get into the technical aspect of left hemisphere and right hemisphere synchronization, but I will tell you this. It works. You need to understand yourself. You need to be aware of who you are.
Are you by any chance using Holosync for meditation?
Holosync?
Yeah, Holosync, Holosync, Holosync. It actually produces a tone that you can barely hear, and it's because it's really behind like rainforest rain. But there's a tone in one ear, and then a tone a half step up in the other ear, and your brain tries to reconcile the two tones, and that puts you into a very deep meditative state. It's a very cool program. I don't use it anymore, but Holosync, Holosync, very cool.
Interesting.
I also meditate. You also say This was interesting when I saw it. Resistance is good. Why do you say resistance is good?
How do you build a muscle? You go to the gym. What do you do? I mean, think about it. What do you do at the gym to start getting some additional muscle mass?
You
don't just go to the gym and breathe in the air. Most of it sucks anyway. It's terrible. But what you do is you lift weights. Lifting weights causes resistance. It causes tears in the muscle, which fill in the next day with additional protein, with additional muscle mass. That's what you do, right? Resistance causes you to get stronger physically. Resistance causes you to get stronger mentally. Think about some of the books that you read. Think about the books that you read. How difficult some of them might be to get through. I'll give you an example. I think I got these here. Yeah. This was my what I took in college, and I still have the book here, and I still have some of my notes. I was doing a class for the International Monetary Fund very recently, and I thought they would find this amusing. So I brought these ancient texts out. I mean, the edition before this, they were on marble tablets. But that was very difficult to go through, Jeff. That was very difficult, very arduous. But you know what happens after the difficulty goes away? It gets easier. And that's what it is with everything in your life. When you have resistance and you struggle through the resistance, things get easier. When I do a class on assertive communication, and one of the first things I talk about in assertive communication is that what drives assertive communication is self-confidence. And what drives self-confidence is self-esteem. Assertive communication, being able to speak proactively, comes from having an ability to understand the value of your confidence level. And that comes from understanding your value as a person. You have to develop that value as a person. This is not something that simply occurs. Let me give you an example. If all of you listening out there are parents, you are the ultimate coach. Think about it. When your child is 9 months old and they're crawling around and they try to stand up, what happens?
They fall down.
They fall down. What do you say as a parent? Do you look at that kid and say, "Oh, if you can't walk now, the hell with it. You're never going to learn"? Of course not. Of course not. We have them stand. Come on. And they start running around. They hit their head on the TV. We give them a kiss. And they keep running. And in 3 weeks, that is how we develop self-esteem. That's how we develop self-esteem in our children. Okay. And this comes from something that I like to call the confidence-competence loop. Think about this. If you've ever been to a toy store, you know that they sell these plastic basketball hoops. They're about 3 feet high, but they have a little screw on the bottom. You can unscrew it and it goes to like 6 or 7 feet. Now, the question is, why do they sell them? Why don't we just sell the basketball hoops that are 7 feet high? And the answer is pretty easy. Because the average 2.5-year-old that's trying to make a basket, there's no way they're going to get frustrated. So we bring it all the way down. Now, think about this in terms of confidence and competence. We bring it home. We give the 2.5-year-old the little basketball. They have zero competence in making this because they've never done it before. They have zero confidence because they've never done it before. We give them the ball. We bring it down to 3 feet. They shoot, they miss. They shoot, they miss. They shoot, they miss. They shoot, and lo and behold, sometimes even a blind squirrel finds a nut. The ball goes in. And then it goes in again. And it goes in again. And it goes in again. What's happening to their competence at that point? It's increasing. Consequently, it's bringing up their confidence. And eventually, when the competence and confidence are so high, what do they ask you to do? Raise it. They ask you to raise it. At the higher level, their competence at that higher level is 0, but they remember their confidence. They remember their confidence level. If I did it at the lower level, I could do it here. They hit, they miss, they shoot, they miss, they shoot, they miss, they shoot, they hit it, and 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 they keep hitting it. Raise it again. Before you know it, they're 5-6 feet high. That's confidence and competence. As salespeople, we need to do the same thing, but we may not have a coach or a mentor. Maybe we have a great sales manager that can help us through the process, and that's great. But even with a great sales manager, I want to be my own coach. I want to develop my level of competence. Jeff, before I moved to Costa Rica, I didn't have a man cave in my cellar. I had a library. I had over 10,000 books, CDs, cassettes, VHSs. I think I might have even had a couple of betas. All around the same notion of how to get better. So I'm talking to you now. And a lot of this, I'm hoping that you see it's kind of flowing. All right. This is not heaven coming through me and me simply a conduit for it. I studied this stuff for decades to learn it. And that's why I'm able to live in Costa Rica right now and relax a little bit.
Yep. Yep. I love what you're saying about competence and confidence. I had a lesson in that about 2 years ago. I was debriefing with a client after working with his team for a year and a half. And what went well, what could I have done better? What can we do in the future? And one of the things that he told me was, let me tell you what I like best about working with you. My team now has more confidence. And it never occurred to me before that the things that I teach salespeople to do give them more confidence. But once he said it, it made perfect sense. We all need that. Before I go on, I just want to answer a question quickly. Somebody's asking, is Holistic a product by Bill Harris, Centerpoint Research? That's the exact program I'm talking about. Yes, absolutely. But you not only talk about confidence and competence, you also say that one of the most powerful traits somebody can have is fortitude. How do you describe fortitude? Why is that so powerful, and how can we develop it?
I look at fortitude as that internal level of saying to yourself, I will not be denied. That's how I look at it. It's that white heat, that heat that's permeating from your gut. I will not be denied. All successful endeavors in business and even in personal life has occurred from that higher level of fortitude by saying, I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to hit it and hit it and hit it and hit it until it breaks. I'll give you an example of fortitude. Let's say I have this gigantic piece of granite and I put in front of you and I give you a sledgehammer. I say, Jeff, I want you to break that piece of granite in two. You take the sledgehammer and you hit the granite, hammer bounces off, nothing happens. You hit it again, nothing happens. You hit it again, nothing happens. You take 9 swipes with that hammer at that piece of granite, nothing's happened. The 10th swipe, the granite breaks in two. Now, here's my question to you. Did those first 9 swipes of the hammer hitting that granite, did that have anything to do with the success of cracking that granite in two? Well, obviously it had to. Small changes were occurring inside that granite. You couldn't see them, but they were occurring. Otherwise, you would just say to yourself, holding the hammer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Here's the 10th one, boom, and it would break in two. But that's not how it happened. It happened by all 10 hits of that hammer. It looks to the outsider that 10% of your activity got you 100% of your results. But it's not the case. Every one of those direct hits on that granite helped break that granite in two. If you're self-motivated and you know that's what you want, you've got that fortitudinal strength within you, you're going to take all 10 swipes until that breaks. Even though by the 6th or 7th swipe, you're getting blisters on your hand, your arms are tired, but you know that's what you want to do, you do it. And at the end, you're successful.
Fantastic. Well, Bill, clearly somebody likes your passion, because Mitch Tobel says, I don't think Bill ever relaxes, and somebody else likes you. Lisa Levitt is asking, what's your YouTube channel called again? We're going to talk about it at the end, but would you like to just tell us what's the YouTube channel called?
Well, I actually have 2 of them. One is called the 5-Minute Motivator, and that I post to every single day. The other is called Crush Your Company's Quota. It's designed for sales managers on how to coach their salespeople. I think I have maybe 37 episodes on that. I only post that when I find something of value.
Got it. Okay, Lisa, I'm going to share Bill's information at the end of the interview in about 15 minutes, so you'll be able to have it again. Bill, this is something when I saw it, I love, because I certainly have something like this, but I'd like to hear from you. What is the positive morning mindset, and how can we develop that?
I just recorded something about that on the 5-Minute Motivator. I was listening to an interview by a Hopi Indian chief, and he said that the skin between earth and heaven is most thin twice a day, before sunset or before sunrise and just after sunset. Those are the times that we have to program ourselves the best. Now, let's forget about the metaphysical side. Let's stay psychological. Let's stay sales driven. What do you do when you wake up in the morning? That drives the rest of your day. Now, I will tell you this. My alarm goes off at 10 after 4. And the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is, being raised Roman Catholic, and I guess to some degree still pretending I am, I make the sign of the cross. Thank you, God, I say, for allowing something to happen to me that did not happen to 1 million people last night. I woke up. 1 million people die in their sleep every night. Thank you. And then I put my right foot on the ground and I say thank, and I put my left foot on the ground and say thank you, and show gratitude. Next thing I do is I go to one of the picture windows. As I said, I'm looking out over a beautiful jungle, a tropical rainforest. I look out over it. It's still kind of dark out. There's mist. And I thank God for this ability to be able to spend my life in such a beautiful setting. By the way, I did that when I lived in northeastern Pennsylvania too. And I looked out over my bedroom window, and what I saw was the neighbor's 1959 Etzel that was sitting on cinder blocks since the first Reagan administration. All right, no big deal. That's how I like to start my day. Then I move on a little bit further, because we all have these little world is flat-isms, these Santa Clauses and Easter bunnies that are running through our mind. I have to program myself very carefully, and I do that with affirmations. This is an affirmation: I am whole, perfect, strong, powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy, which I got directly from this book by Charles Hannell called The Master Key System. Fantastic book, written in 1912. Every page is loaded with wisdom. Then I'll go through the rest of my affirmations as I see fit. All right. This is not academic, ladies and gentlemen. This is real. This is what I teach and train on. And this is how we program ourselves. This is the morning mindset. By the time I get to my office, which I am in right now at 5 a.m, I'm purring, man. I'm humming. I'm ready. And I haven't even had coffee yet. The coffee's brewing.
Got it. I don't drink coffee. I'm naturally this way, but I have a similar process in the morning. As I'm walking my dog, which is right after I go to the men's room, that's the next thing, so that he can go to the men's room. I actually walk through my neighborhood with a smile on my face. Literally, I put a smile on my face and I speak out loud to myself. Out loud, I'm walking through my neighborhood and I say the same thing every morning. Today is going to be an incredibly wonderful day. Only amazingly great things are going to happen to myself and my family today. I'm going to help lots of people today, and everyone I interact with is going to be thrilled that they were touched by me. And it goes on for about 10 minutes. I have a litany of things, because I believe most people wake up in what I call the muck. Oh, crap. I got to go to work again today. Oh, shoot. I hate my wife, or I hate my husband. Instead of setting up your day positively for success, because the mind, as I know you'll agree, it's very powerful, and it's listening to everything you say, and your mind wants you to be right. When I say today's going to be an incredibly wonderful day, my brain is going to make me do things to cause it to be an incredibly wonderful day, instead of, oh crap.
Jeff, you're exactly right. And when you face a situation that perhaps isn't overly beneficial to you, your mindset will reduce the negativity of that. You'll look at that as saying, oh, well, stuff happens. Let's move on. And it's not going to be that big of a deal to you. Whereas if you wake up with, another day, God, I wish I had a different job. I wish I was in better shape. I wish I had a different partner. I wish. Then something happens to you and you blow up.
Yeah, and I want to be clear to anybody who's listening. Just because somebody like Bill or myself has this positive mindset the way we start out the day, that doesn't mean everything goes perfectly. My sister had pneumonia recently. My mother has Alzheimer's. My son came here yesterday and he was kind of depressed. Now, I don't have a lot of room for depression in my life, but he was sad about something that's going on with his girlfriend. And it's not all perfect, but when you set up your day for success and you have that positive mindset, you recover more quickly and you're less likely to run into those things. There's something else I like to know. We're so quickly running out of time, and I'm sad. I'm hoping that when your book comes out, you'll come back and we can talk further about the book and more of this stuff. But why is it that we don't do what we know we should do?
Boy, can we as humans rationalize anything? We can rationalize anything. I mean, Hitler rationalized the killing of millions and millions of people. Rationalization occurs at every level in our life. And when there's something we know we should do, but we don't want to do it, what I would call a high payoff, low fun activity, we can rationalize the hell out of that. You know what? I'll do that later. You know what? I have other things that I need to get done. Let me get these simple things done first before I concentrate on a more complicated thing. You know what? Let me put that off until tomorrow, until I have more time. You know what? Let me not do that until I have the proper mindset. Just do it. Just do it. Tom Hopkins, the great sales trainer out of Scottsdale, Arizona. I think I'm not sure which book. I used his book, by the way, in a college classroom for years. I had to teach a sophomore level sales course. I used Selling for Dummies. The administration hated it. We can't have a For Dummies book in our institution. I said, well, then fire me, because that's what I'm using. And I did, because it brought home the issues. He said that every morning when he went into the office, he would fill out all of his paperwork and get that done, get that out of the way so the rest of his day could be sales. He didn't have that cloud over his head. Many of the other salespeople, back when he was selling real estate, they would wait until the end of the day and it would always be over their head. And then they would do their best to rationalize not doing it. Get done what you have to get done. Just get it out of the way.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you bring up Tom Hopkins. I sold insurance a million years ago for a short time, and the owner of the agency sent me to a sales training 48 years ago, the very first sales training I ever attended, 48 years ago, Tom Hopkins live, and I fell in love with his stuff. A lot of it does not hold up today, but much of it does. And his book, How to Master the Art of Selling, I not only read it a million times, but I used to buy it in bulk, and I used to hand it to everybody I hired. Anybody who ever worked for me, because I managed salespeople for many years, and I still do it on an outsourced basis. You got to read this book. It's the foundations of selling. Tommy, I think he's still around too.
He is. Yeah, I read that book 40-some years ago.
Yeah.
Then he put out Selling for Dummies. And, he also had a really interesting cassette program back out in the 80s, too, called The Official Guide to Success. Great program. Yeah. I bet you that's on YouTube. I haven't checked it out.
I think his company was Champions Unlimited.
Yes, that's what created Champions.
Bill, what's the truth about bad times and good times?
Neither one lasts. Neither one lasts, Jeff. You know what? You could be going through the worst sales cycle of your career right now. I mean, like, you simply could not sell anything to anybody. It's not going to last. By the same token, you might be 120% a quota for 2 or 3 months. Don't get cocky, because it's not going to last. Good times and bad times don't last. Jeff, I will tell you, there have been times in my life when I was so high, I could have looked down and seen an angel's cleavage. And there were times in my life when I was so low, I could have looked up and seen the devil's testicles. The end result of both of those times is that they never lasted. They never lasted. Use your head. Be pragmatic. Work your way out of the bad times and learn from them. When the good times happen, do everything in your intellectual power to extend them as far as possible, but understand, eventually you are going to hit equilibrium. The worst storm in the world, and we get a lot of storms down here in Costa Rica, stop. The greatest periods of sunshine and great weather, we get a lot of that in Costa Rica too, stops. So don't worry about good times. Don't worry about bad times. Learn from both. Compress the bad times as best you can. Extend the good times as long as you can. This is a process of developing yourself as salespeople. As salespeople, every day you put on your suit of armor and you carry your lance and you and those prospects are jousting. You better make sure that that armor has a thick gauge so that the prospect doesn't pierce your armor. Every time they do, you bought your product. You got to pierce their armor. And you know how you get that armor thicker? Personal development. Every day, you should be on YouTube looking at Zig Ziglar, looking at Tom Hopkins. You should be talking to Jeff. You should be talking to me. You should be doing things that are going to get that gauge so thick that when the prospect puts their lance up to you and they try to joust with it, it goes like this. And It caves in. That's why do you think salespeople make such great executives? We make such great executives because we've been tested. Time has tested us, and we are steel. All the dross is out of us now. There is no impurities left. We are developed and we are ready for action. We're focused, we're firm, we're fair, and we know what to do once we hit that executive suite.
Bill, I didn't know that angels have cleavage. I love that. And I have to share something with you that just happened 2 days ago because it's right in line with what you said. Good times don't last and bad times don't last. I heard from a salesperson who I'm managing right now, and he was very proud. He said, "Hey, Jeff, I'm really excited. You know, we're still 2 weeks away from the year being half over, and I'm 51% of quota." And of course, I acknowledged him and applauded him because I am a natural cheerleader and everybody needs to be encouraged. But I said, here's my coaching. Do not take your foot off the gas. This would be the worst thing you could possibly, because he was saying, I'm going to hit my quota by the end of the year with no problem. I said, no, don't take your foot off the gas because you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. Did you think in December of 2.5 years ago that we were going to run into a COVID and everything was going to change? No, you can absolutely never, ever take your foot off the gas. I'd rather you blow away your quota. In fact, that's what I coach everybody. Don't worry about hitting your quota. The reward for hitting your quota is you get to keep your job. You really want to swell, you got to blow it away. You got to blow it away, and you got to keep working because you never know when that good time is going to go away.
Absolutely. And Think and Grow Rich, one of the last chapters, I said the successful person is the one that runs the extra mile but keeps on going.
Absolutely. Well, Bill, we are very quickly running out of time. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to share my screen. Could you please tell people how they can reach you if they'd like to?
Certainly. Well, the best way is to fly into Liberia, Costa Rica. I'll pick you up at the airport and we'll have a great time. Let me start from the bottom. The YouTube channel, that is the 5-Minute Motivator. When you go onto the YouTube channel, again, if you'd like to look at Crush Your Company's Quota for salespeople or for sales managers, feel free. Above that is my LinkedIn page. I've got 17,000 subscribers on LinkedIn. I post every single day to LinkedIn. Feel free to join me on LinkedIn. Tell me that you were on this podcast. I'll set you up immediately and we'll be in great shape. Here's my email, bill@intelligentmotivationinc.com. bill@intelligentmotivationinc.com. Feel free to email me with whatever questions you have. I'll do my best to answer you. I'll probably answer you within 24 hours since I really don't have much of a life. So it's not an issue. The top one, though, intelligentmotivationinc.com/smart. That is a free guide to setting 7-day goals, both business and personal goals. It's a free guide. It's also going to allow you to check out some of my goal setting courses. Now, if you click on the link beyond the free guide, you are going to be invited to purchase 3 courses: a 30-lesson goal setting course, a 30-lesson advanced goal setting course, and a 4.5-hour live goal setting course, all for less than 10% of what it costs for me to do it live. That's what I have available to you, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you partake of it because I would love to rock and roll with you.
Bill, I don't know if you have the time, but if you would, please join the Sales Pro Network on Facebook. And if you would post those 4 links so that everybody has them available. I don't know how quickly everybody was writing, but I'd sure appreciate it if you would do that. And if you don't have the time, let me know, and I'll make sure that the information is in the Sales Pro Network for everybody.
I'll do it right now as soon as I'm off the line with you.
That would be great. Well, we have run out of time, so all I can say is, Bill, thank you so much. I believe from the feedback that I'm seeing in the comments that everybody got a great deal out of it. I certainly did, and it's always great to speak to somebody with so much passion and so much wisdom. Thank you so much for sharing it with us generously. And I will end as I always do. Gang, please remember, sales is a game of making things happen. So get out there and make sales happen. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you, Bill, so much. Have a great one.
See you in the Facebook group.